questions. We have tons of them. What if some of those questions can be answered with a simple email? Now is that time, and welcome to Chat with Charlie. Host Stephanie Lynn is a certified spiritual life coach and psychic medium. She will work together with Spirit to answer both your submitted and live questions. Not only will Stephanie be providing you with insight, but also interviews with amazing guests. Now, your host of Chat with Charlie, Stephanie Lynn.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. I appreciate you tuning in with us. I am really excited because today we are going to have on best-selling author and master life coach, Amie Burnis. You may remember Amie coming back on for her book Soul Fed, which was Rising Up Through the Moments That Broke You. And she released that back in October. Now she has another fantastic book that she's going to be coming in. Good morning, Facebook user. Thank you for posting those for me. Good morning, Jackie. I'm glad you made it on time today. And I really think you are going to be really excited about the new things that Amie has in her book. And she's also here to offer inspiration, to offer insight. So if there's things you're struggling with, good morning, Tim. Thank you for tuning in. If there's things that maybe you're looking at, how do I change my perspective? How do I look at these things and change that view? Feel free to come in, ask her some questions, pop on there. I can't even tell you how many times Amie and I sit and kind of boost each other and have these help put each other in different perspectives and help each other see things differently. So I did post a couple things in the top links. We always pop stuff in there. So you can check out Amie's book. That's on Amazon. Also, I believe a Facebook user is Miss Diet popping in some of my social media stuff for me. So I truly appreciate that. It helps so much when you have somebody else that can pop in those things. So while we're sitting here and waiting for Amie to come in, she should be with us just for a few minutes. I want to talk to you guys about kind of something that Spirit has put on me. And it's looking at how sorry, give me 1 second. Miss Amie is saying that the link I sent her is not working. So I am just going to resend that over to her. And get that to her so we can get her in here. And this is exactly what I was going to talk to you guys about, is spirit and learning to go with the flow, learning to, not get worked up, not be like, things are not going the way they're supposed to. Because you know what? You can get through it. You can work through it. And it's really not a big deal. And it's really been a lesson for me the last couple weeks. And it always comes back to surrender and surrendering to their process, surrendering to the way things are going. And that's hard. If you guys know me, I really struggle with not having control over certain things, things that are out of my comfort zone. But just know, just like this, it's not a big deal. Learn to work through these things, learn to not freak out. It's really going to put you in a more comfortable mental space, because that constant worry about things, or the constant worry about things that are coming up that we can't change. And it's kind of funny because I was sitting here kind of struggling this morning, and actually I sent my friend a Snapchat about it, because I asked Spirit, like, just for a couple cards, looking for guidance for myself. And they gave me 4 cards, and it was leadership. And then it was, now is not the time to retreat. But it also, the next card was, I'm not letting go. I'm not surrendering. I'm not allowing those things to come in. And then the last card was success. And so, there's things that we have to do so that we can process through things, so that we can get things released from us, so that we can move into a better place for ourselves and move into that stage of releasement, because it's so much better when we don't have to worry about those things. So Amie should be in just a minute. I did send her over the link. All right, Amie has arrived. So we are going to bring her in. Please help me welcome certified master life coach and best-selling author, Amie Burnis.
Good morning.
Good morning. I am so sorry, but it was so funny. It tied right into the topic of letting go and not stressing about these things. So perfect.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. I'm like in there. I'm like, oh, this isn't working. And then I'm like messaging you. So finally I was like, oh, I'll just go to her page, click on the show, and then hopefully she'll see my message.
Right. I did. That worked perfectly. Like, hey, Steph, pay attention. I'm freaking out over here.
Oh, wow. We're here now, right?
We are here. And I am so excited to have you back. And I really, before I jump on and we start talking about your new book, Freedom Switch, I really want to kind of focus on like your development as that life coach, and just because I think for you and I, and we've had, I mean, if people would hear the conversations that Amie and I have, you guys would think we're crazy. You would just be like, what is wrong with you girls? But I think there's a misconception with people when you look at a life coach, when you look at people that are supposed to be motivational. Yeah. Like we still get stuck. We still have to fight through like that mental mindset. Yeah. And like, so just kind of your process and how you work through some of those things to be like, okay, I do have this, and then go back to what you're telling everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so crazy that you say that, because I always call it the proverbial meat grinder. Right. And I have been in it. And if people like coaches and inspirational leaders, whoever they are, if they say, well, I'm past all that, I've gotten to this level, they're lying, because you are always going to have to go through things. You're always going to have to learn lessons and challenges and figure it out to get to, the next phase of your life. And it's hard and it hurts because it's not fun.
It's not.
No. And, so I always think of it like when you're in that meat grinder, right? Like say you're in there and it's ripping you apart. It hurts. It feels like you don't even know if you're going to come out the same person.
Right.
You won't, right? And that's a good thing, because you're being
that's the whole purpose,
forced.
Right?
Yeah, you're being forced to let go of beliefs, habits, and thoughts that have kept you stuck. And that's your ego. Why it hurts is because your ego's here like, this is how we have been. This is what you need to do. And it just wants to cling on to how you thought your life was supposed to look, or the beliefs that you held. So that pain is your soul's like, yes. The pain, the challenges, like you're going, you're learning, you're growing, and your soul is always excited. Whereas your ego is like, no, like this hurts. And so that's why you feel that contrast so badly, and why it can be so, sticky and painful. But when you get spit out the other side of that meat grinder, you left behind the parts of you that were meant to be taken. Like we always think we need to carry everything with us, and we don't. Like we have to sometimes be forced, willingly or not, because sometimes you willingly let go of things, and then sometimes you're kind of forced to do it. And that's honestly one of the biggest gifts that we can be given.
Well, and I think too, and especially for me, and especially when I first started taking classes, and it was, releasing your ego. And when I would think of ego, to me, it was egotistical. When you say, oh, someone's egotistical, it's that bravado that I thought of. And it's so many layers. Like I look at ego as the proverbial onion, peeling those layers off. Because there's things and just, moving into that surrender and letting go of what our expectations are. That's part of ego. So it's not always, you could think, well, my ego is in control. I'm not an egotistical person. I am, but that's not really what we're talking about. It's all encompassed in like this lump of things. And, grieving, like, I don't think, you realize when you start letting go of those pieces, like right now, Spirit really has me working on surrender, but you grieve those pieces that you let go,
Yeah.
as you start to surrender, you grieve. And it's just such a complicated, interesting process, but it can be brutal. It really can be.
Yeah. And you're so right. The surrender is like, that's my last chapter in Soul Fed is surrender.
Right.
And it's so true, because when you finally like give up, like not give up, but give in, and you're just like, okay, like you surrender into how life is going as opposed to how you thought it should go.
Right.
It's like, then you make way for the universe to do what it's designed to do. Like we have all these things lined up in our life. Like we designed it before we came here,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So we have these life challenges or whatever. And because we have free will, obviously, sometimes we make choices that lead us a little bit different. But you will ultimately always come back to those challenges because you have to go through them.
Right.
So when you surrender and you just let go of how you thought your life would look, which is the ego, which the ego isn't bad. The ego is just that it's like the lenses for your personality. It's how you perceive the world and how the world perceives you. That's your
Right.
ego part. So when you let go, you're making way for your true self to allow those things to come through,
Absolutely.
the things that you designed. And I have a quote, if I can read it. And this is
Yes.
so beautiful. I just read it this morning and I was like, oh, so it's totally about surrender. So, and seeing everything as a gift. So when everything is a gift, we are not trying to be anything other than fully and able to however life seems to be. Remain open to the fact that everything exists to inspire the gifts of evolutionary benefit, whether noticed immediately or revealed over time. When everything is a gift, we are open to the journey of evolution. We are willing to face any amount of adversity and spend as much time feeling shut down just to cultivate the strength, courage, tenacity, and compassion to open back up more radiant, renewed, and powerful than ever before.
That is a lot. I mean, that's like a huge quote, but it's, can you break it down? Like, I understand, but for our viewers, because that's just,
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Right. So it goes back to how, so I call it a soul contracts, right? So you plan out your life, the people that you're gonna, have relationships with, the events that you need to go through. And so a lot of people think that pain or negative emotions are bad and that you shouldn't feel them. But in reality, everything's a gift. So, I mean, so this might sound kind of crazy to some people, but if you read soul contracts and you really get into it, so somebody maybe had I read this story and it's amazing. So she had a bomb go off. Somebody planted a bomb. Somebody walked into it. And this is all part of the soul contract book.
Okay.
And so she ultimately realized that person that did it for her because she had asked them to. So they ultimately had to, I know that sounds crazy, but they had
it is. And I think people have a hard time with that. Like, why would I ever agree to this over there before I come over?
Right. But she learned so much and she grew so much after this tragedy that happened in her life that she finally realized, like, if I hadn't gone through that, I would not have been able to grow in the capacity that I did. So when you learn that everything truly is a gift, and it doesn't mean that it's not going to hurt or you're not going to be able to see it right away, because that happens too. It takes a long time. But everything is designed for your ultimate growth. And when you go through that nitty gritty hard stuff and you surrender and you just basically are like so vulnerable and stripped in those moments, it's like it makes way for you to be open. It opens your heart. It opens you to love. That really is the only way, is to love. That's all there is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And finding those self moments of, I don't want to say gratitude, because gratitude's not the word, understanding, because what we signed up for on the other side, and in that soul contract, when we lose somebody or these tragic things happen, it's hard to look at it from a gratitude perspective, because how could
Right.
you, because there is so much pain involved in that physical loss and within those tragedies.
Yeah.
But to eventually be able to look at it from a perspective of understanding, understanding where this scenario moved you to, or where it moved the world to, or how it affected eventual change,
Yeah.
whether it's within an individual or within systems. I think it's a hard place to get to, but if you can get there, it's crazy, what you can see within the darkness, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Right. And, we often don't see it in the time, but I
Right.
think sometimes we tie things. We tie things to, we say we have a purpose. We say we have to, do things, but yet sometimes, like, let's say a career, right?
Yeah.
We feel like, well, I have to do this. Like, this is, if I don't do this, this isn't true to who I am. But yet you might take a different job that was actually designed to help further your growth. And so when you can understand that sometimes the spiritual growth isn't always like, well, I need to be this, or I need to be like this, I need to be out there, and that's it. Like, and you make way for really what you need, then it's like, oh shit, like I get it. Like there was more I needed to learn in this life. And sometimes it takes me taking this role, and sometimes I have to take this role. And just being open to that, even though it hurts sometimes and it's really hard to see the big picture. That's surrender again. It's surrendering into what is.
And isn't it funny how, like, I don't know, spirit just kind of led us both to this topic. I mean, of this kind of coming up. So moving into, because I feel like your new book, which I haven't had a chance to read yet, Freedom Switch, the owner's manual for your mind to create radical happiness in your life.
Yeah.
And I love, and I'm sorry, I don't know what is going on with my lighting. I don't know if you guys noticed it today, but it's being kind of weird. I love that title, because there's nothing in life that we have good directions for, or a manual for. And I feel like if there is one, spirit would bring it in and kind of be, cheeky about it. And it would be like in a language you don't understand. And they'd be like, here's all the answers.
Yeah.
And so I love that you put it that way, because it's really like that reprocessing and just being able to give people those different avenues.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so how is the Freedom Switch different from Soul Fed? Where are you looking to inspire your readers with the Freedom Switch?
So Soul Fed was really about me coming through, because I had some really challenging moments in my life. And to be quite honest, I've told people this, there were moments when I said, what am I here for? What else do I have left? I told God one night, I remember that night, I said, either take my pain or take me. And I say that, I get emotional because it's such a hard point, but he didn't take me, and he didn't take my pain, but what he gave me was strength to come through and to learn from it. And so that's really what Soul Fed was about, is that rising up through the moments that broke you. And that's truly what it is. Whereas this Freedom Switch, I said, it really was written for my 16-year-old self. It was designed with all of the lessons and the processes and the tools that I've learned, now as a 37-year-old adult. And I wanted to not only have this for my children, of course, because I have 4 children ranging from 17 to 8, but I wanted to give it to so many parents to be able to too, just set it on their nightstand, and whether or not they grab it right away, they will have it. They will have those tools. And that's really what it was about. And there is a process in there. And I've been using it with my clients. And let me tell you, it is amazing. It is amazing to see them go through it and finally go back to, it could be 10, 20, 30 years. And there was an experience in their life, and they had no idea that it was causing them to have certain behaviors, have certain thoughts that are affecting them now. And I just say this with such conviction that there are always things that happen in your life that will cause you to feel a certain way. And
Absolutely.
we keep that in our bodies, right? Like we keep the emotion, we keep them inside. And so when you go back in and you dig it up, it's painful, right? Like I haven't done a session where they didn't cry.
Right. Oh, I know.
Yes. So when they do that though, it's like all of a sudden these lights start opening up and they're like, oh my, I totally understand now why I did it this way. And so, that's what the freedom switch is about, is giving you that power to understand your mind, to let go of the past, to build a better future, and to have these processes. There are over 21 processes for people to be able to use day in and day out and whenever they need them. And
I think that's great too, because I know, like for me, and I think about the trauma that I still hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not that I don't want to let go,
right?
But a part of me is still identifying with those pieces of the trauma.
Yeah.
And that's, again, that grieving, that ego, and that releasing of those things. And so I think even in just what you said, for people to realize just letting go, you don't have to identify in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting here talking, it sounds so easy, right?
Yeah.
But it's not, because I know I still hold on to trauma. I know there's things you still hold on to. It's a continual evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what life is about. Like, we have to really embrace, I think we're being forced now more than ever to really embrace the moment, to embrace the small things, your family, a flower, the sky, the sun, like really choosing to be
present.
For that. Yeah. And to be grateful for the little things. I think we get so caught up in, the big picture that we forget to be present and to release that, like release the future, release the unknown, like be excited and focus, but also be present and be aware, of where you're at now.
Yeah. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, I do want to see if anybody, has questions, things that maybe you've been struggling with to change your perspective on, anything like that. Please drop them in. Amie and I would love to discuss that with you. And we'll continue talking about your book when we're back in just a minute.
Awesome.
The station mobile app is finally here and ready for you to download free. With the app, you can listen to past shows, view upcoming live shows, read our blog, and even shop. Get yours today at the App Store and Google Play under WLTK-DB Talk Radio. Stay connected and informed. WLTK-DB Talk Radio mobile app. It's yours. Go get it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chat with Charlie. I am your host, Stephanie Lynn, and I am being joined by the amazing Amie Burnis. She is a master life coach and bestselling author. She has a new book. If you're just tuning in, it is called The Freedom Switch, and you can find both of your books, The Freedom Switch and Soul Fed, on Amazon. And I think if they have the Amazon reading, they can read the book for free, actually.
Yeah. Yep.
So check it out. They're super inspirational. I loved the first book. I'm really looking forward to reading the second. And I see in here, Jackie had commented that she went to school for teaching, and now she's doing very well in the vet med world. So, I think that's a great point too. And I know for you, Amie, and I know for myself, I look back on different chapters of my life. Mm-hmm. And 20 years ago, I would have never thought I would be sitting here on a metaphysical show talking to people and inspiration and being open about spirit and all those things. We go through chapters. We go through chapters of our life and who we are and what's, kind of resonates with us. That's part of our growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, I think we put so much stock into our titles of like, well, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a
Right.
this, and we forget, after all, we're just souls here to experience things, and that's what
Right.
we are, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's kind of hard in today's world to, because we're so advanced in different things, technology and all these things, but we're so under advanced in other things, emotional maturity,
Yeah,
understanding these things, that they almost feel like the tech world feels more real than our emotional and spiritual world. Does that make sense?
yeah,
It just
yeah.
seems so abstract from the way things are processed today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of how it's been geared towards us, is that
Right.
we have all this technology, we have all this connection, and sometimes I think it's a good and bad thing, right? Like I feel
Right.
like it's good to have that, this platform to share, but you also have to remind yourself, like, not everything you are seeing is someone's truth, and
Right.
I don't know. For me, I have a hard time being anyone but me. So like
Hmm.
if I mean, like, I share the good and the bad, and I have a really hard time like hiding my emotions. And I realize that that's not a bad thing. And
No.
it's okay to be true and not always, be good or positive all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody, if somebody came to you and they're struggling, maybe just their perspective on the way they're looking at things or struggling with something, what are the three top pieces of advice that you give somebody in just a general kind of sense?
So I always say, and this is the hardest thing, and I say this because like I go through it too, but
Yeah.
I always say, if you are waiting for your circumstances to change before you can be happy, you can wait forever. So you
Right.
have to find reasons to be happy now.
Right.
And everything we do is to feel a certain way, right? If we want, if we have a job, we want a certain job because we want what? Freedom, security, happiness,
Hmm.
fulfillment. Everything we do is to feel a certain way. So you can feel that way now, but you can't focus on, what you don't want and expect
Right.
things to change. So you have to focus more on feeding the future and what you want than fighting the past and where you are currently. So that's my number one thing. Quit focusing on your circumstances and start focusing on reasons to be happy now.
Right.
That's my number one, I would say. And then two, if you're, the number one, I always tell clients too, you have to get so good at where you are, even if it's not where you want to be, but put your whole self into it. Like, say you have a job and you know that you don't want
Right.
to be there forever. Do the best you can at that job, so much
Right.
so that like the universe is just going to push you out of it, because you're thriving where you are,
Right.
but excited for where you're going.
Right.
That,
I
that's
like that. And I don't want to interrupt your third process, but I want to kind of touch on what you said, because I love that so much.
Mhm.
Because I think, and I see it a lot in the world today, where you're in a situation that you don't want to be in, so
Yeah.
you don't try. You
Yes.
lose that motivation, you don't try. Well, you're there for a reason, and to learn a lesson. Some places might call it, like shadow work. What is it there to teach you about that other side of yourself? Or what are you in the holding pattern for, to pick up, to take to the next place?
Yeah.
And I think that so many people in those times where they view themselves as being stuck, they just give up.
Yeah, absolutely. That again is that feeling of almost shame, and shame and guilt.
Yeah.
That is the ego's favorite tools to use on you. So
Right.
like, you're guilty or ashamed that you are where you are, and it's really hard to see your way out of it. But if you can truly embrace where you're at, even if it's hard,
Right.
and really focus on where you're trying to go, that's huge. And so I listened to this podcast, is the one where I really just like aha'd myself into
Yeah.
where I am. And he talks about how he was a mechanic, and he was so depressed, like he wouldn't use the safety latch on the lift. Like he
Hmm.
was like, if it happens, it happens, because that's how
Right.
depressed he was. And he finally started realizing, okay, I'm going to put my whole self into this, and I'm going to do things that other mechanics won't do. So he started doing things that would take extra time, but it set him apart. And he had just like so many like clients.
Right.
I always forget the names of different,
Yeah.
whatever. He had so many customers lined up for his business because he was going above and beyond. And so much so that he ended up eventually outgrowing his position and becoming a millionaire and doing the
Right.
things that he loves.
Right.
But, that's kind of leads me into the third point. And the third point is you're going to have to do some things that you don't want to do, right?
Right. Right.
A lot of people, I would say, if you want to live the way most people don't, you're going to have to do the things that most people won't.
Right.
And
right.
I mean, that might be giving up things in your life, I mean, it might be instead of going out on a Saturday night to unwind from the week, you might have to start like going to conferences or
Absolutely.
sitting at home and reading a new book or listening to a podcast. But it's like, how bad do I want change? How bad do I
Right.
want to grow? I have
Well,
to
and that's
give up those
I
things.
know somebody, and I think a lot of people get in this mindset, and somebody that I know very well who struggles to gain that financial freedom.
Yeah.
And I will talk to this person and they'll say, well, but I want, when my friends are like, hey, I'm going to go out and doing this, I know I can't afford it, but I want to, so I go and do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Or my kids want this, and instead of waiting, it's that instant gratification, and I do it anyway. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that just puts them in this perpetual cycle. And then it's that shame of, I can't get ahead, I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
Where, and when I talk to them, I say, well, what if instead of going out every weekend, you go out yourself once a month?
Mm-hmm.
What if instead of doing all these things for the kids, and I get it, I struggle with my kids too, but you cut back and maybe do one or two things.
Yeah.
But it's that sacrifice and that ego of, oh, well, you're not a good mom if you're not doing all this stuff. And it keeps
Mm-hmm.
you in that perpetual cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about looking at what isn't serving you anymore, because
Right.
our society does a really good job of romanticizing the instant gratification pleasures,
Yes.
which are
Yes.
alcohol and food and shopping and gambling. Like, all of those things are put here for a reason, and they are meant to like put those blinders on
Right.
to keep you from becoming your fullest self. Like, the soul growth is why we're here. And those things are like, they're almost like obstacles in a game. Like, if you're a video game and you have to jump
Right.
over things.
Yeah,
like,
for me, I'm
that's
like,
what
I'm
they
doing
are.
good. Oh, taco. See you
Yep.
later. Yeah.
Yes,
And then it
yes.
whoop, 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 and I disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things to ask myself is this going to help me long term, or is this going to hurt me long term?
Right.
So I ask myself that. And then there are times that it's like, you know what? Instead of feeling guilty about making that choice, I'm going to truly enjoy it in this moment. Okay, I really want to do this.
Right.
And then you take that guilt out, because sometimes it is good for you to just let go and indulge or do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But don't feel guilty about it then, because then you're still
Exactly.
keeping yourself stuck.
Exactly. And that's just it too. It's not saying don't ever enjoy these things. Don't ever
Right.
do these things. But where is their purpose? Where are they serving you? Where are they not serving you? Are you getting in a habit of less servitude to yourself versus supporting and
Yes.
self-care?
Yes. Yeah. Obvious. Yeah. And those, the instant gratification is so easy, and it's so easy to want to turn everything off because it's so loud and in your face, and it's hard.
Yes.
Which, like alcohol, that is a big one, right? For many people, it's like that glass of wine or those beer or whatever. It's like, okay, that kind of numbs you out and shuts out a lot of that extra, that noise. But then you wake up again, and that's, your problems are still there. Your circumstance is still the same. So, get really good at doing the hard things now, and watch your life change, and watch it's not that you're not going to have challenges come back up, because you will, but it's going to be different, and you're going to be at a different level, and you're going to understand more once you get past certain things.
Well, and I think too, and I've seen it multiple times just in myself and my own journey, is you break through, you have that aha moment, you have that breakthrough, and you're working to improve your higher self. And then all of a sudden that lesson comes back around, but just a little bit different, just and spirit. And it's like a level up, it's like getting more barrels thrown at you in Donkey Kong than, and you're like, oh, wait, this is the same problem, but now it's a little bit different. And so that's when you're supposed to take what you've learned and what you've grown through, which you say all the time, grow through it. And so as you grow through it, you're supposed to take those lessons to that next stage and work through those lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're so right. It's just, life is a cycle. I think people think of time as linear, right? Like,
right.
It's not. It's everything's always happening. So to me, it's a circle of you sometimes are on the high and sometimes you're on the low. But in the low is where you're able to really take those challenges and apply to your life. And then when you get back up to the high, you've gone through what you needed to. So you really get to enjoy that. Right. But here's the thing, and I know this is so much easier said than done. I know that. If you can embrace those low moments and just, even though it hurts, but be in it and truly feel it, oh, that's magic. That is pure magic when you embrace it and surrender into your emotions, and that's emotional integration. And that work is what will make you, progress more than anything. Anything in this world is emotional integration, feeling your emotions, letting them in, surrender.
And, there's a lot of, I feel like it's getting a little bit better, but there's negative overtures within our society of doing that emotional work, going through those emotional processes. Right. And I know I'll even catch myself in my wording and choosing, what I say. And, my youngest child is a great example where he may be having a huge emotional moment. And instead of me articulating exactly what I feel, I'll be like, don't cry. Yeah. And that's not what I'm saying. And I actually didn't even realize that until he is so much more emotionally aware. Like he really is. And he's like, but you tell me it's okay to have emotions. And I'm like, yes, I didn't mean don't cry, but then that made me aware of my verbiage too. Like, it's okay to be upset, but can you try to use your words so I know what's going on? But there shouldn't be shame in having those emotions. I know I don't like to cry in front of my family or my kids. And I'm like, but why? It's normal. It's normal to have those emotions, but we denormalize it and make people feel like they shouldn't.
Right. And then we have this misconception that if you show emotion or you cry, you're not strong.
Right.
And honestly, the strongest thing you can do is to be vulnerable, to feel those emotions, to cry, to truly, because think about it, when it's really painful and you let yourself feel that, how brave and strong is that to actually let that in, as opposed to numbing it out or pushing it and not letting yourself feel it. That's true bravery. And that is true growth. That's strength. And I say it all the time. I'm like, my hardest battles have been where I grew the most. And so when they start, it's really hard to remind myself of that. But then all of a sudden you get little glimpses, and then you get a little bit more, hope and strength, and it happens over and over again.
So to anybody who might be out there listening and kind of on the fence, with either of your books, what would you tell them? What do you feel the benefit is from the books that they can gain?
So first and foremost, I always say I am I don't like to draw things out. So my books are very, easy reads. And that's truly okay, my husband, right? I wrote Soul Fed, and he just read it about a month ago.
Oh, good. Right? Yeah.
Right. So, but here's another lesson. I was like, why isn't he reading? But he's like, I have to do things on my own time. Like I have to. And he did. And he said he's like, I loved how easy it was to read. I didn't lose interest. It was just, it's there. And that's why I make my books the way they are. Like a lot of people that make you feel like you have to write these 300-400 page books.
Yes, I know.
And I just, that doesn't resonate with me. Like after about 300 pages of a book, I'm pretty much done with that book. So for me, mine are very short. They're sweet. And I always say that I feel like I'm a master student. I feel like that's why I was put here, to learn things, apply them to my life, and then share them with others. I really feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. And so I always say, well, instead of you having to go through all these tools, that's my passion. I spend thousands of hours on learning. So I share them with you, and then you can pick and choose, like, oh, really? I want to explore this tool more. I want to explore this process more. So that's what I would tell someone is like, here's this whole, these books are packed full of information and processes, and you get to choose, like, hey, I really like this. I'm going to apply this to my life.
I love it. And so they can find your books on Amazon. Both of your books are currently on Amazon. I know occasionally you go and you do some vendor things. You usually have books there with you too. Mm-hmm. Where can they reach you directly? If they're looking for a life coach, if they're looking to reach out to somebody, how can they contact you?
So I have the author life coach page on Facebook.
Yes.
And right in there, actually, I believe now there's a book now, but either way, messenger works great. We can set up a consultation. And I always, I love people that are able to actually do the consultation, whether or not they decide that it's a right fit for them, because I'm not for everybody, but I am for some people, and that's okay. Right. So that is my favorite place to connect with people. I share a lot on TikTok. I do a lot of videos, try to just share what I learn. I mean, that's all it really is. And Instagram is, also a place they can go and follow. And I like I said, I share constantly.
I love your TikTok videos. They're usually very light and inspirational, and just like, and there's lots of times where I'm like, oh yeah, Amie got me again. Like, those little aha moments of like, oh yeah.
Yes, I know. I feel the same with you. I see people and I'm like, oh dang, like I needed that little reminder. But that's the beauty. That is the beauty part of the social media, is we can get those little clips of, oh yeah, that's right.
And use it for that positiveness instead of, sensationalizing in those things. Use it to reach people who may not find these resources, because 20 years ago, I would have never known where to start looking for resources.
So true. So true. Yeah. And you're right. Using it for the good, because a lot of times you can use social media for the bad, A, comparison, or B, getting on and just like shutting your mind off, which is okay. It's okay to shut your mind off for once in a while. But if you're doing it a lot, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because, you're not not connected and you're not present.
No. Well, I thank you so much for coming on today, Amie. I hope everybody will go and check out Amie's book, because really, she's right. It's very blunt inspiration. And Jackie says, I'm so thankful to have you as a huge resource. So we appreciate everybody. I am going to let Amie go. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about what's coming up on the show, what's coming up on the network, and do a couple cards. So start thinking about what you want some inspiration for. Thank you so much, Amie.
Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Would you like to be a part of something new, something different? Host a show with WLTK-DB Talk Radio and dare to be different. We offer full production and live engineering of your show by a real person, not a pesky computer. Just visit WLTK-DB.com and click pricing to get started. It's not as much as you think, and a great way for you to get your message to the world. Better hurry. Slots fill up fast and you don't want to miss out on this excellent opportunity. Visit WLTK-DB.com and contact us for more information now. WLTK-DB Talk Radio. Paranormal talk is our business, and business is good. From its beginnings, Used was created to unleash the excellence of nature's healing powers and bring them to people everywhere. With almost 90 years in the market, they are considered a worldwide pioneer in complete herbal wellness therapy. All Swiss Used products are natural, essential oil-based, pleasant, and harmonious. They are extracted from plants and herbs with the latest technology to ensure the best results. Swiss Used Live Healthy with consultant Stephanie will guide you in the right direction to find the perfect essential products just for you. For example, have an upset tummy? Try our soothing chamomile that has not only been used by many, but trusted for years. Keep in mind, you just can't get these amazing oils at your local shopping center. They're just too special. For that, you need a connection. And that connection is Stephanie. Want some? Then head on over to Facebook and search Swiss Used Live Healthy. That's Swiss Used Live Healthy, and contact Stephanie today.
Hello, welcome back to Chat with Charlie. I am your host, Stephanie Lynn. It's about 45 after the hour. And if you're just tuning in, we had been talking to certified master life coach and best-selling author, Amie Burnis. Amie is the author of 2 books. You can find them on Amazon, Soulfed, and her new book, Freedom Switch. So if you're looking for a little bit of inspiration, looking for some changes to have better positive outlooks, check out her books. I think you would really enjoy them. Thank you so much for tuning in, Pamela. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the show today. Coming up on the network. So we did post, I always post the schedule, and you guys can always find that at WLTK-DB.com. Or if you have the app, you can check it out in there. The app is super handy, people. I highly recommend it. So check out the schedule for the rest of the week. Lots of great shows, new shows coming, new shows that have started, old shows coming back in. So really a lot of exciting things going on at the network. For today, we have Realm of Darkness with Renee and Ashley at 7, The Afterlife Chronicles with Nicole Strickland at 8, and Voices of the Dead with Kenneth Drake at 9. So check those out. And again, check that schedule on the network for some other shows that you might like. There's a variety of topics. Coming up on this show over the next couple weeks, next week we are going to have Danny Loosemore. He is here. You guys are going to love him. He is so inspirational. He's a very gifted tarot reader, and he's going to come in, kind of discuss tarot. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about reading tarot, about the processes. So he's going to come in, clear up some of those questions. So send in your questions. If you've been wanting to learn how to read tarot, he's also a tarot card reader teacher. And so you want to send in those questions. You want to touch base with him. Maybe we can also get him to pull some cards to offer some personal insight. On the 25th, I will not be here. So there will be a rerun. Pop on if there's a show that you missed. Otherwise, hop on, catch another show that maybe you're trying to catch up with. On the 1st of September, I'm very excited to welcome team members from Unearthing the Supernatural. They are an Indigenous paranormal investigation team, and they deal with spiritual combat and healing. So they will be here to help us learn about the paranormal and their techniques and how they combat that spiritual warfare and the healing of spirit. So make sure you tune in. On the 15th, we're also going to have Ellie Weinzel. She is a psychic and spiritual medium, and she will be joining us to discuss attachments, kind of the negative side of some of the spiritual stuff that not everybody has to deal with, but some of us do. So she'll be coming in to answer questions on that. And then on the 22nd, we have Graham Wibstad, and he is from Heart Center Channeling, and he specializes in spirit guides. So start kind of looking at these topics, saving up your questions, keep sending them in. That's why I do the show. I do the show to answer your questions. So if I have no questions to answer, it's not a very fun show, because then you just got to look at me rambling on for an hour. So send in your questions. Okay. So I actually pulled 5 cards today. So kind of get set in what you're seeking clarity for. You can pick all 5. You can pick any variety in between. And again, I am still using my Sacred Forest Oracle by Denise Lynn. All right, for the first card today, Spirit gave us truth. And I really feel like this card is speaking not necessarily about truth coming into you, but about inner truth, about starting to understand yourself, about starting to be truthful with some of those things that you go through, some of those things that are still held within your spirit, and working and being honest on that with you. So if you got card number 1, I really think you're going to start opening up, looking at things that you're dealing with more truthfully, starting to set some boundaries and processing through those things. The second card I got actually was inverted gratitude. And I feel like this is really spirit coming in and reminding us to operate from a place of gratitude. And kind of like Amie and I were talking about earlier, there's things that happen that it's almost impossible to find gratitude within some of those scenarios. But being open to that bigger picture, finding something every day to be grateful for, to understand and start appreciating how spirit is moving in your life and the things that are happening. So just opening up, being more aware, and operating from that place of gratitude. The third card I get was also inverted. And this card talks about beauty. And when I first looked at this card, it was really impressed upon me that spirit's coming in and talking about your self-beauty. And this is, again, a thing where so many of us do not see our beauty. We do not see our shine. We just see all of what we interpret as our flaws. And so spirit's really coming in and reminding us, take time to self-appreciate, take time to see the beauty of self, because we are all beautiful. Other people do not see the same flaws that you see. Let them see your shine. Let them see who you truly are, and start honoring that self-beauty. The last card I got is transcending. So for card number 4, and I do have another one, I haven't flipped that number 5 over yet. So they wanted me to wait. So number 4 is transcending. And this is really just talking about, I think, collectively and individually, and especially, those who tune in every week, we are looking to transcend. We are looking to understand. We are looking to bring ourselves to a new level of knowledge. And that card is really paying a homage to that want, that urge to learn, that urge to invest in the understanding of spirit and connecting with spirit. And last, I like this one, stability. And if you picked number 5, I really feel like spirit is talking about, and what they show me is kind of bringing out into the clearing. If you look at that card, she's sitting there and she's kind of sitting in the clearing, having come out of the forest. And I think that speaks to moving from situations that may have kind of been tumultuous, kind of kept going, kept cycling through. You're coming now into a time of stability, a time of calmness. And I feel like within that calmness and within that stability is going to give you that opportunity to kind of do some healing. It feels very healing for me. It feels very like a time of stillness to appreciate being on that even keel. And I also feel like it's going to be a time of realizations and understandings. So I'll go through the cards again really fast for everybody. The first card, if you picked card number 1, was truth. Card number 2 was working on gratitude, coming more from a place of being gracious. Card number 3, acknowledging the inner beauty, overlooking what you feel are your flaws and appreciating that beauty of self. Card number 4, transcending, gaining knowledge, gaining that connection with spirit, seeking that understanding. And card number 5, stability, coming in out of the forest into a place of calm, into a place of rejuvenation and clarity. Well, I really enjoy coming on every week and talking to you all. I hope that you find value in the messages and in the guests. If there's ever a topic that you have questions about, something you want me to try to find a speaker on because you're curious, because you have questions, because you need understanding, remember, you can always email me at chatwcharlie@gmail.com. And I will try to get those topics covered for you, get you answers. If it's something you're dealing with individually that you're looking for answers or understanding on, reach out. We have resources. That's why I'm here. I'm here to provide the resources. I'm here to connect you with the resources. Thank you so much, Tim. I'm glad you liked the show today. I will see you all in 2 weeks. Oh, no, next week. I will see you all next week, and then I will see you all on the 1st. So tune in next week on the 18th with Danny and the Tarot. See you guys then.